Hope everybody had a good weekend. The Committee on Finance is hereby called to order. The time is 10:03 on Monday, April 25th, 2022. Pursuant to applicable law, my determination that attendance by remote means is necessary because an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent due to the declared public health disaster caused by COVID-19. This meeting will be conducted by video conference. For questions during the meeting, aldermen should use the raise your hand function and members of the committee will be given preference. If you have a point of order, information, or point of clarification, while a colleague is speaking, please use the raise your hand function and unmute your microphone. We will now have a roll call, to establish quorum. Please unmute your mic when I get up to your name, and please note that your yes or present response will be deemed a yes vote when the quorum call is used as a reference vote for later items. All right, starting out with Alderman Hopkins. Alderwoman Dowell.
Here, Chairman, sorry.
Thank you. Alderwoman King.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you. Vice Chair Hairston.
Present.
Alderman Sawyer. Alderman Mitchell.
Present.
Alderwoman Harris.
Here, Chairman.
Alderman Beal.
Yep.
Thank you. Alderwoman Sadlowski Garza. Alderwoman Lee.
Good morning, Chairman. I'm present.
Thank you. Alderman Cardenas.
Present.
Alderman Quinn.
Here.
Alderman Burke. Alderman Raymond Lopez.
Originally present, Chairman. Thank you.
Yep. Alderman Moore.
Present, Chairman. Thank you.
Alderman Curtis.
Present.
Alderman O'Shea.
Here.
Alderman Brookins. Alderwoman Tabares.
Here.
Alderman Scott. Alderman Burnett. Alderman Irvin.
Alderman Irvin is here spiritually.
Good enough. Alderman Taliaferro.
Present.
Alderman Boris.
Present.
Chairman is present. Alderwoman Austin.
Here.
Alderman Villegas. Alderwoman Mitz.
Present.
Alderman Sposato.
Next Sposato is there.
Alderman Napolitano.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you. Alderman Riley.
Present. Chairman, Alderman Scott's here. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. Gotcha. Alderwoman Smith.
Present, Chair.
Alderman Tunney. Alderman Osterman.
Present.
And Alderwoman Silverstein.
Present, Chairman.
Thank you.
Alderman Cardona as non-members present, sir.
Sawyer's present.
I have Alderman
Burnett is present.
Alderman Burnett, Alderman Cardona.
We're also joined by Alderman Hopkins, sir.
Oh, Alderman Hopkins. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do have a quorum, and if I think we just have a couple folks that might pop in late here, so I will call them when they come in. They do. And we do have a quorum. Ladies and gentlemen, we have no speakers signed up for today. So we will go to item number one. Item number one is the approval of the Rule 45 report from the March meeting. Does anyone have any questions or changes that they noticed on it that we need to make?
Sawyer moved to pass.
Alderman Sawyer makes a motion to approve the report by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. All right, ladies and gentlemen, going on to item number two. This is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning intent and authority to record bond inducement language regarding 2018 wastewater revenue bonds. We will discuss both items 2 and 3 together before we take a vote on them separately. The item number 3, as you can see, is related to that as bond inducement language regarding water revenue bonds as opposed to wastewater. So we will be joined here by Jack Brofman from CFO Bennett's office and Jim McDonald from the Department of Law for testimony on this matter. Jack, are you ready?
Good morning, I am.
Just state your name and title and go ahead.
Okay. I'm Jack Brofman, I'm Deputy Controller for the City of Chicago and the Department of Finance. Good morning, Chairman Wagaspak, Vice Chair Hairston, members of the committee. As Chairman Wagaspak mentioned, I'm here today to speak with you about the water and sewer bond inducement ordinances. The City Council approved the issuance of bonds for the purpose of funding water and sewer capital programs in 2018, and then provided revised authority in October 2021. These inducement ordinances represent a compliance measure to support these previous authorizations and do not provide additional authorizations to issue debt. The city expects to begin work on nearly $200 million in approved water and sewer projects during the late spring and summer of this year. And in order to fund these capital projects, the city can either issue debt upfront and pay for the projects with bond proceeds, or DWM can use its cash on hand to pay for projects and then reimburse itself for these costs after project completion. For systems with strong cash flow like water and sewer, the latter practice is typically more efficient and less expensive. However, according to IRS regulations, the city can only issue bonds to reimburse itself for these costs if the city provides an official statement of intent to do such reimbursements, which is what these inducement ordinances do. As a reminder, the City Council has already authorized the issuance of these bonds and this slate of capital projects in previous meetings, and this inducement is not an authorization to issue additional debt beyond that already authorized by City Council. Instead, it is a purely administrative step to comply with IRS restrictions on the issuance of tax-exempt bonds. With the inducement ordinances, the city can reimburse itself for these costs on a tax-exempt basis and achieve the lowest possible cost of financing for the water and sewer capital improvement programs. Thank you. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you, Jack. Jim, did you have anything to add, or can I go to questions?
I have nothing to add. I think Jack Brofman explained it, and if there are questions, I'd be happy to answer as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, ladies and gentlemen, are there any questions for Mr. Brofman or Mr. McDonald? Right.
I don't have any answers, sir. Oh, sorry.
Alderman Lopez has a question first. Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, members of the committee. My question is a real simple one. With regards to the work that is paid for by these bonds, the City of Chicago has actually done relatively nothing as of late when it comes to the water department. So does this mean that the authority that you're requesting in the ordinance that we're being asked to approve today is a signal that we're actually going to start doing things again? Or is this just a continuation for when we eventually might do something?
So the city, based on the cash flows that we have been using to project our incurrence of costs, we're projecting to incur, meaning actually spend up to $200 million on water and sewer capital projects through August. And so I think that would be an indication that hard construction work will be occurring during the spring and the summer on water and sewer. And we should have Joel Vieira, who's the first deputy for the Department of Water Management, on the call as well. And he can elaborate on those construction plans if needed.
Please, Chairman.
Yes, Joel, are you on? Hold on a second, I'm looking.
I don't have Joel on the call, sir.
Yeah, I was just looking to see if he popped up on a separate number here.
So Chairman Mike, is it possible that we could get someone from the water department on on this call today because while I appreciate Jack's the indication of work, it's not a guarantee of work. And I know that we have
go ahead.
Millions that we were given by the federal government and the EPA loans that if we don't use, we're going to have to give back. We've seen where a lot of the work that traditionally has gotten done in the city of Chicago has come to a halt because of the direct line issues with the trees and things of that nature. We have so much unresolved when it comes to the water department. I just want to make sure that we're giving authority that's actually going to put people back to work and start doing things in the city. So if someone can provide me with that today, I would appreciate that.
And
sure, let me
Chairman,
go
could
back to Jack first. Yeah.
Just one thing I do want to add is, we're only asking for, approval of inducement that would allow us to reimburse on a tax exempt basis. The authorization and the intent has certainly already been, provided by the city council and stated by Department of Water Management to do these projects. This is just administrative to allow us to do it more efficiently. So.
Thanks. Let me go, Alderman Lopez. Let me go to Alderman Beal, unless you had a follow-up to what Mr. Brofman said.
I'll wait till the water department joins us. Thank you, Chairman.
Well, I would point out too that bond inducement language is different than approving actual projects, but let me go to Alderman Beal first. Alderman Beal, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a quick question. Are we looking to reimburse because of the lack of revenue that has been coming in because our revenues are down as far as the water fee?
Good question. I would actually say that it's the opposite. In fact, you would only want to fund projects up front with cash if you have strong cash flow in the system. So water and sewer, more than any other fund of the city, throughout the pandemic and prior, had the kind of steadiest revenues and have historically had very strong and steady revenues. And so therefore, you can have confidence that if you do use some of your cash on hand to fund these projects, you're not going to find yourself with an operating shortfall because you went to use your cash to fund capital. And therefore, you don't have to incur debt up ahead of time, and which ultimately is more costly over the near and the long term.
Okay, so you're saying that the revenues are strong as far as the water fees that are coming in?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman Beal. Alderman Curtis.
Thank you, Chairman. Bill kind of asked my question and I got an answer, but I also want to know, so this body will decide, the water department actually gets to decide on which one they want to do. Would they want to pay up front or being reimbursed, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we could decide whether we wanted to borrow up front and have all of the bond proceeds on hand immediately and spend directly from the bond proceeds, or decide to spend our cash first and then reimburse ourselves at a later date.
Right. So there's a lot of projects that's out there, and I know they've been doing some work, but there's a lot of projects that's been on hold, moratorium on streets for like 4 years now. I've never seen it that long. And you can't say which projects they will kind of start or get moving on first. We have to wait on that from the water department, correct?
Correct. I mean, as far as I understand, the Department of Water Management briefed each alderman, prior to the construction season beginning on the work that was intended to be performed in their ward. So as far as I understand, that is the work that will commence, or probably already has commenced for the year.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you, Alderman Curtis. Let me go to Alderman Moore.
Thank you, Chairman. Maybe I missed it. What is the overall financial benefit to the taxpayer on this?
Good question. The benefit is essentially that it's twofold. First of all, there's the option of issuing taxable bonds or issuing tax exempt bonds. As a local government, the city has the ability to issue tax exempt bonds, which typically carry an interest rate that is, probably 2% per year less for the water and sewer department's funds than if we issue taxable bonds. And then, so then you have to comply with tax exempt requirements that are issued by the IRS. And in the case of this particular inducement, the financial benefit is that if we are able to delay borrowing and therefore use our cash instead, what that does is that by delaying the incurrence of debt, we don't have to pay interest on those bonds that we've actually issued when we haven't already spent the funds to do the construction. So what this does instead is we delay the issuance of the debt, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. That's 6 months to a year of not paying, 4 or 5% interest. And then, you actually know at the end the actual costs that you've incurred, and you issue debt just to fund those costs, which ultimately reduces the long-term debt that you have to incur as well. So there's near-term interest savings, and there's overall long-term debt savings as well.
And I got that, and I appreciate the explanation further because I understood it generally, but I appreciate the explanation. So based on that, I'm sure there's been some estimated cost savings calculation. What number is that?
Sure. So putting it simplistically, we would say that if we're intending to spend approximately $200 million over the next 6 months, that would be, but not borrowing for it. Instead, that would be saving approximately half a year at 5%. So that would, if I do it quickly, that's approximately $5 million in interest costs that's saved just for these 6 months. And then in addition, it's an additional probably $5 million more from savings on the amount of total bonds that we'd have to issue as well. So that interest savings, if I would add, is savings that you see every year, because that's $5 million less in debt that you have to issue as well, that you would ultimately have to pay interest on until you repay those bonds.
Okay, I appreciate that quick and dirty calculation. But before we go to vote on this in council, can you guys just provide that to us so I understand what that, at least your estimated total cost savings? If I heard your rough estimate, but if you can provide that, and I appreciate the explanation.
Sure.
Anything else, Alderman Moore? You good?
Well, that's all, Chairman. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Alderwoman King. And then we'll have Joel Vieira from the Water Department on as well to answer the question from Alderman Lopez. But Alderwoman King, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and definitely appreciate that explanation from Alderman Moore's question. Just, I guess, a point of clarification. Why didn't we do this, at the beginning? Why are we coming back for this approval? I'm just wondering what changed, and yeah.
So there's two parts. The biggest thing is that, I guess the first thing I'll say, the shortest one, is that there was an authorization provided in 2018, an inducement, and that authorization lasts for 3 years. And so that inducement authorization expired, but the other part of it is that it's not been historical practice of the water and sewer funds to pay for projects up front using cash and then to reimburse. Typically, we've borrowed up front and then use the bond proceeds that we've borrowed up front to pay for the projects directly. Typically, because it's a little bit, it's easier on it to administer, because you just have the funds in the bank, you go to it and you pay for the funds, as opposed to having to track what you've spent and then reimburse yourself. So we decided, as we were sort of mapping out the finance plan for the upcoming bond issuance and looking at the cash flows of the system, that this was something that could be supported for this issuance, and the plan is also going forward.
So then, did we anticipate finishing some of these projects within that 3-year period? I'm just curious why 3 years. And
so the other part of that is that in that time period, we also looked to alternative forms of financing and paying for the project. So there's two other typical funding sources for city water and sewer fund projects. The first one is PAYGO, or pay-as-you-go funding, which is cash that is generated through the operations of the system that you can then use to reinvest in the system, which we do on an annual basis. And then there is low interest IEPA loans, or loans from the IEPA that typically have a lower interest rate than what we can get on the open market. We turn to those two first because they're a little more efficient. But ultimately, we have the amount of PAYGO, we are finally getting to the point where we're spending it down. And the IEPA loans, there also are slightly lower amounts available going forward. And so we need to look to the bond funding for the next, for the remainder of the costs. And this is, we think, the most efficient way to utilize that bond funding.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think along with Alderman Moore's, kind of back of sheet calculations, it would be good just to get kind of a summary like that, just to understand, some of the calculations that we're looking at as we try and move this forward.
Sure, we can provide that.
All right. Thank you, Alderwoman. All right, Jack, we have Joel Vieira on, and I'm not sure. Joel, are you there? Actually, can you hear me?
Yes, Chairman. Yes, I'm here.
Good to see you again. And I think you might have heard the last few minutes of comments there. Some aldermen were looking for a little more clarity on the savings, but also on how projects are moving forward. They seem to be running fairly well, at least in the surrounding area here. But I'd be curious as to if you could answer that question. I think Mr. Brofman has addressed the fiscally healthy portion of it, but if you could address the project portion, that would be helpful.
Sure. This year's a little different because we are encountering some issues. The issues we're encountering are primarily related to material procurement. So we are, like everyone else, there's a shortage of materials that hasn't impacted us yet. And so we're working through some of those issues. Obviously, we have to coordinate with our contractors on these topics. And we're also working on that with our Department of Procurement. So at this point, we haven't experienced any significant delays, but we think that at the rate things are going, we might have to scale back some of these projects. Obviously, we'll loop in the aldermen on that. We know there's projects going on throughout the city, and we know that some of the water department projects also impact some of the work that the other departments do, in particular, the Department of Transportation. But if any aldermen have any specific questions relative to projects in their ward, they can certainly reach out and we can set up some time to have a discussion. We know we had the aldermanic menu briefings last year, and it's only been 4 months since then, but we're certainly willing to sit down with the aldermanic offices and give you an update specific to each of your wards.
Thank you, Joel. And Alderman Lopez, I don't know if you wanted to ask something more specific.
Yes, Chairman, thank you.
Go ahead.
And good morning, Joel. So my understanding is that from what you just said, that the issues that we're seeing for the delay in projects taking place is because of materials,
yes.
Correct?
Yes.
What was the excuse a year ago before the material and the inflation and the supply chain issues? Or 2 years ago, when a lot of this was still going on and we had never even heard of the term supply chain issues?
So I can't speak to what happened last year or 2 years ago. I've only been here 4 months.
So what I can tell you, Joel, is that even when Commissioner Andrea Chang was confirmed, issues of projects being delayed, our contractors not being utilized, and questions about all of our unused funding sources have been going on for a number of years now. And to be clear, this is not something specific to my ward, but across the city. Many of us have raised this issue publicly and privately with the water department. So when I hear today that we're doing a bond inducement to get ready to give authority to pay for projects, but yet at the same time, you're talking about we're also going to be scaling back on projects, I'm confused as to what exactly the water department is doing. Do you have an explanation that can answer how in the same breath you want money for projects while talking about scaling them back? What the plan is for the water department this year, as well as what the plan is to catch up for last year and the year before that when you obviously were not here, but I'm sure you have a schedule. So I'd like to hear if you can explain to the body that pays for everything what your department's doing moving forward.
Sure. So about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, the water department started a program where we were going to do approximately 880 miles of water main replacement, which was the big project. I think the water department has nearly completed that. I think we're at about 820 odd miles. So we're still a little short of that target. We want to, of course, complete those those targets, and we want to continue working as quickly as we can to complete all those projects. We've encountered some regulatory issues with some of our other contractor partners, and we're working through those matters. We have been in touch with them. We're in very frequent communication with them. We are also in touch with the regulatory bodies on this. But in terms of like other specifics, I just don't know those at this point.
So I think, Joel, the question that I have, since you brought it up with regards to the regulatory matters, you're referring to the IEPA and all of the work that was done on the water and sewer main replacements, where it wasn't a direct line from sewer to house, where we went around trees and we were around other issues, and where waivers were not asked for and work was done by this department, authorized by our contractors, and now we are in litigation trying to force them to correct what we told them they could do. That is something that was going on before the current commissioner has been going on for a number of years now. I think 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. So is this going to be a resolved issue where we move forward? Because my understanding, and the edification of this committee, was that all of the work has come to a screeching halt because of those regulatory matters. So are we done? And has that been addressed?
So those discussions continue with IEPA and IDPH. We're also in discussions with the contractors on those issues. This situation came to light in 2019. So it's been a couple of years since that has happened. We know we have to resolve those. We know we have to work with the contractors to move this forward. The litigation is ongoing as we speak. But I think we're working with the contractors. I think there's a status hearing coming up pretty soon. So we are in constant communication with them and with their attorneys. And we know we have to partner on both sides to kind of move this forward. As you pointed out, it's kind of a complex situation that involves quite a few, obviously involves the water department, the regulatory bodies, and the contractors and the subcontractors. But we know that we've got to resolve this one way or another in order to move sort of everything forward expeditiously. But at this point, it's really in the hands of the attorneys at this point, Alderman.
Well, Chairman, I don't want to belabor this. I think this is an entire hearing in and of itself.
Alderman, it is not an entire hearing in and of itself. This is just simply bond inducement language.
I'm talking about
we can't talk about the legal issues and get into obfuscation about what's happening with those legal issues and the attorneys if they're working those out. We're talking simply about the bond inducement language.
We're talking about the fact that we can't do any work and haven't done any work since 2019, and we're being asked to approve bonds for work from a department that has done absolutely nothing.
I would disagree with
you. Has
you.
left many neighborhoods in a lurch
going on a constant basis.
Well, I'm glad that you've seen it in your
try to obfuscate
other communities have not. And while I'm saying, Chairman,
okay, go ahead.
I understand.
You say what you want, but stop obfuscating what we're talking about here today. We're talking about bond inducement language.
I know what we're talking about. Talking about giving bonds and funding to a department that is doing little to no work. That's my concern, Chairman.
That's an opinion. That's true.
Not an opinion.
So if you would go ahead and get to your point.
So we're not going to, Chairman, I'm not trying to argue with you. And to be honest, I didn't really interrupt you.
Okay,
I'm just trying to say.
We can stop there.
From a department.
I understand that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I would like the department to provide me the work schedule that has been from 2019 to present and for the next year forward, so that I could see what exactly the work that they plan on being done using this bond inducement and for the full scope of what they're going to do moving forward, so that I can have faith that they're actually going to do something. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Alderman Irvin, I saw your hand up. I don't know if that was just to be promoted to panelist. But I've got you. I just switched you over to panelist. So
I'm good.
Okay,
I'm good. Thanks.
Then Alderman Irvin makes a motion to approve item number 2 by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor?
Do you have Tunney for the roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Alderman Tunney recognized for quorum.
Thank you.
Thank you. And going back to that roll call on the item number 2, Alderman Irvin makes that motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Thank you, Chairman. Alderman Lopez is a no.
Correct.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. We discussed the same item in that note with Mr. Brofman, and Alderman Irvin makes a motion to approve this item number 3 by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Alderman Lopez, would you like? Okay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. All right, ladies and gentlemen, item number 4 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Park District to provide tax increment financing funds in the amount of $550,000 for eligible costs of various restoration and site access improvements at William Bosley Park, located at 3044 South Bonfield Street in the 11th Ward. We're joined by Beth O'Reilly from the Chicago Park District for testimony on this matter and the next couple items. And Alderwoman Lee, I will have you close on this item after Ms. O'Reilly makes her comments.
Great, thank you.
Beth, are you there?
Yeah, working on sharing screen here. Hang on a second.
No problem.
I think, oh, yay. Okay, it worked. Okay, hello, Chairman, Alderman. Nice to see you all this morning. My name is Beth O'Reilly. I am the Deputy Budget Director for the Chicago Park District. I am here today to request your approval for an intergovernmental agreement amendment that would provide the Chicago Park District with up to an additional $550,000 in TIF assistance to rebuild Bosley Park. The project is located at 3044 South Bonfield Street in the Bridgeport community area and the 11th Ward. It's also located within the Archer Western TIF District. This project was previously awarded $1,369,400 in TIF funding to replace the playground, construct a new play spray feature, repave the basketball courts, and install a junior soccer field. Unfortunately, as with all of our projects, the cost to complete this work has escalated. We are seeking an additional allotment of TIF funding to proceed with the planned improvements. That basically sums it up. Here's a photo of the park. The whole thing is basically getting redone. It's a small linear park, and we're also seeking an additional $50,000 for some mechanical improvements at the small field house while we're at it. We have briefed Alderman Lee. I'm not sure if there's anybody else has any other questions.
Thank you, Beth. If you're able on the next one to do that expand screen, that would be helpful. But,
okay, sorry.
we do have, it's okay. We do have Alderwoman Lee to comment on this item. Alderwoman Lee, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Beth, for providing the overview. Bosley Park is right next to Holden School. I was briefed on this and understand that all of the additional funds needed are to sort of meet the increased cost of everything. I am supportive of completing this project. The park is in pretty desperate need of some love. Would be great to be able to get approval for the additional funds to complete the project as it was approved previously. So thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. There's no further discussion. Alderman Hopkins makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Aye. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. All right, Beth, item number 5 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Park District to provide tax increment financing funds in the amount of $75,000 for eligible cost of restoration of tennis courts at Mount Greenwood Park located at 3721 West 111th Street in the 19th Ward. This is again Beth O'Reilly from the Park District for testimony. And then Alderman O'Shea, if you'd like to comment.
Okay. Can you guys see Mount Greenwood?
Yes.
Yay. Okay. I'm so glad I nailed this. Usually Tiffany is my driver. She's not here today. So again, my name is Beth O'Reilly, and I'm the Deputy Budget Director at the Chicago Park District. I'm here today to request your approval for an intergovernmental agreement that would provide the Chicago Park District with up to $40,000 in TIF assistance to make improvements at Kennedy Park. Oh, shoot, Mount Greenwood, sorry, jumped. It's $75,000 to make improvements at Mount Greenwood Park. The project is located at 11320 South. No, it's not right. I messed up the address. It's on 111th Street. Sorry about that. In Mount Greenwood in the 19th Ward. It's also located within the 111th and Kedzie TIF district. The request is to improve the tennis courts in the park for a resurfacing and repainting. This has been requested by the community and Alderman O'Shea, and we are happy to support this effort.
Thank you, Beth. Are there any questions? Alderman Osterman and then Alderwoman Austin.
Question for Alderman O'Shea. Is this for tennis or pickleball?
Both, but the biggest demand is for tennis out here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Austin?
Yes, Beth, what TIF district you said this was coming out of?
111th and Kedzie.
Oh, the Kedzie TIF, all right. Well, I was trying to see if I can wiggle in on some of Matt's TIF.
Well, we can look at that, but I'm not sure you can do it on this TIF.
All right, then. Thank you.
I think that's an invitation for you to meet with Alderwoman Austin.
Yeah, I think we'll do an overlay.
Excellent. Any other questions? All right, then Alderwoman Austin makes a motion to approve this item by the all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Right, ladies and gentlemen, item number 6 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Park District to provide tax increment financing funds in the amount of $400,000 for eligible costs of various restoration at Beverly Park located at 2460 West 102nd Street in the 19th Ward. And Beth O'Reilly will also speak to this item.
Okay, lots of tennis going on in Beverly. So for the record, again, my name is Beth O'Reilly, and I'm the Deputy Budget Director at the Chicago Park District. I'm here today to request your approval for an intergovernmental agreement that would provide the Chicago Park District with up to $400,000 in TIF assistance to make improvements at Beverly Park. The project is located at 2460 West 102nd Street in the Beverly community area and the 19th Ward. It is also located within the Western Rock Island TIF district. The planned improvements to the park will provide new ball field lighting at 2 of the baseball diamonds and fully renovate the existing tennis courts located within the park. This one has, again, 4 tennis courts. This is a more significant rehab of the courts, and it will then provide field lighting, athletic field lighting for 2 of the baseball diamonds. Anybody?
Thank you, Beth. Which communities do these ball fields serve overall? Is there like a broader Little League there?
Oh, it's a busy park. I know that just from having lived in the 19th Ward when I raised my son there. But I'm sure the alderman knows it's busy.
Okay.
Really, the courts are always busy. When I lived there, the courts were busy, and that park is crazy busy.
Thank you. I'm sure Alderman O'Shea supports it. I don't think there were any other questions there. All right. So Alderman Sposato makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present. For the roll call used to establish quorum, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those,
Aye.
thank you. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you, Beth. Moving on to item number 7, another of yours. This is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Park District to provide tax increment financing funds in the amount of $40,000 for eligible costs of construction of a new baseball and softball practice tunnel at Dennis Kennedy Park located at 11,320 South Western Avenue in the 19th Ward. Beth, you have this one as well up, I think.
Right. So again, for the record, my name is Beth O'Reilly. I am the Deputy Budget Director for the Chicago Park District. I'm here today to request your approval for an intergovernmental agreement that would provide the Chicago Park District with up to $40,000 in TIF assistance to make improvements to Kennedy Park. The project is located at 11320 Southwestern Avenue in the Morgan Park community area and the 19th Ward. It is also located within the Western Rock Island TIF district. The planned improvements to the park will include the installation of a new batting cage to support this park's active baseball community. So you can see this park's got quite a few baseball diamonds in it, and this is improvement would be similar to what is shown here for what the batting tunnels would look like. It's a surface embedded with rocks and things for the cleats, and then a protected area, and then a batting, just a simple batting cage to allow safety while the kids are practicing their swings. This was also requested by the community and the alderman.
All right, thank you, Beth. Are there any questions? Okay, then Alderman Taliaferro makes a motion to approve this item by affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Thank you, Beth. Appreciate your time today.
Thank
and
you.
touch base with Alderwoman Austin.
Okay, have a good day.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're now moving on to several TIF items, IGAs with Chicago Public Schools for work on building automation systems. This will be items 8 through 22. Mr. Ivan Hansen from CPS is going to talk us through the project needs as a whole, and then we can field questions about each particular project. And then we will vote on the ordinances separately. But I'll have him go through the whole package and then vote on each one separately again. Thank you. Ivan, can you hear us? We have Jamal working on the screen sharing there.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the Finance Committee. For the record, my name is Ivan Hansen. I am the Chief Facilities Officer for Chicago Public Schools. I'm also joined by Terrence Johnson, Assistant Commissioner for the Department of Planning and Development. I'm here today to request your approval of 15 intergovernmental agreements that would provide the Chicago Public Schools with up to $4.9 million in TIF assistance for the upgrades to building automation systems in 15 schools. The school, there you go. Slide. The schools are located in 11 wards, 12 community areas, and 12 TIF districts. Here is a map of where the schools are located. Next slide. This table includes a list of the 15 schools, including their addresses, the ward, community areas, and the TIF information. Next slide. The next two slides are photos of the 15 schools. This is a sample of the outdated and obsolete building automation systems at these schools that were shown. The building automation system projects include upgrading, repairing, and recertifying the systems which control the environmental and mechanical systems in these buildings. On this slide, the table includes the project budgets. Please note the budgets vary because the building square footages increase the number of components that need to be repaired and/or replaced. Secondly, the scope of these projects vary from partial system component replacements to full system upgrades because the components can no longer be sourced. If approved, the intergovernmental agreement would authorize up to $4.9 million in TIF assistance, which would finance the entirety of these projects. I thank you for this consideration of this request, and I'm available to address any questions the committee may have.
All right, thank you, Ivan. Can you go ahead and put back up the list? It was the blue one with the alderman. Yes. With the alderman's names on it.
Is it this one, Chairman? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, a couple more back, I think, just to make sure they're all seeing it there. All right.
Chairman, just as an FYI, I've been in contact with CPS and with Law. Harris's project is not in this round and should be in the next round at Chicago Vocational.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, because I was going to ask that. I said I didn't know it was going to be in this round.
Yeah, no, we've got you covered for the next one. So
thank you.
We've got you on the schedule.
All right. Are there any questions for Mr. Hansen? Ivan, I do have a question. I don't know if I saw it on there. Maybe it's on that other sheet, but you mentioned, upgrading, repairing, certifying. What's the average age of these buildings? Or maybe actually the systems. Are these systems 20 years old, 30 years old?
Majority of these systems are within the 15-year range. They're the pneumatics. We would be moving to the direct digital controls. So they would be basically controlled on the computer system versus how they are now, where you physically need to go up to and move actuators and close dampers manually.
Wow. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Just new technology every 10, 15 years.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Okay. We have Alderman Quinn and Vice Chair Harrison with questions. So Alderman Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ivan, there's a typo on the graph that's put up. It's the 67th in Cicero TIF, not the 167th in Cicero.
Got it. We will make that change. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Unless we could get some money out of an Oak Forest TIF, Marty.
Vice Chair Hairston, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. Ivan, since we have you up here, are there any plans to do any of the elementary schools that are not in TIF districts to upgrade?
Yes, that's a great question. In our FY23 capital plan that we'll be taking this summer, we actually have a $15 million allocation for energy efficiency projects. So we're hoping to bring on energy service companies to actually go through and do investment grade audits in about 150 schools. And that would be more on the elementary side across the district.
Okay. I just want to make sure that my 9 schools are in that list. Thank you.
Thank you. Ivan, if you could, when you start going through those 150, if you could set it up the same way here where you have, you know, the list with the alderman location, which community area and TIFs, that would be helpful. And then thinking forward, just make sure you're meeting with each one of those aldermen, especially if they share a TIF as well. Actually, you're not using a TIF, so just shared school area with them. That would be helpful.
Absolutely.
All right. Any other questions? If not, what we'll do is we do have to vote on each one separately. So we will go through just each one of these and take the vote. And I'll have to read through each one to make sure we get it into the record. So bear with me. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ivan. All right. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Item number 8 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds for eligible costs of upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at Albany Park Multicultural Academy and Thomas A. Edison Regional Gifted Center, ES, located at 4929 North Sawyer Avenue in the 33rd Ward. Alderman Sposato makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Item number 9 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $300,000 for eligible costs of upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at Mariano Azuela Elementary School, located at 4707 West Marquette Road in the 13th Ward. Alderwoman Mitz makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Item number 10 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $280,000 for eligible costs of upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at Jacob Beidler Elementary School, located at 3151 West Walnut in the 27th Ward. Alderman Mitchell makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Item number 11 is
Chairman.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Villegas, would you like to be recorded as present for purposes of quorum? Excellent.
Yes, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. And we are on item number 11, Alderman Villegas.
Chairman, I'm so sorry. I don't believe that Alderman Mitchell is actually present.
Okay, let me go back. I thought he was.
No, yes,
Yeah.
we heard him. He
I had him
I
recorded.
wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yep. I had them recorded. Thank you. Let's see. Item number 11 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $560,000 for eligible costs of upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at the Chicago High School for Agricultural Services, located at 3857 West 111th Street in the 19th Ward. Alderman Villegas makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Item number 12 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $53,000 for eligible costs of an upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at Robert Nathaniel Dett Elementary School, located at 2131 West Monroe Street in the 27th Ward. Vice Chair Hairston makes a motion to approve this item by affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Item number 13 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $431,000 for eligible costs of the upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at Benito Juarez Community Academy High School, located at 1450 West Cermak Road in the 25th Ward. Alderwoman Dow makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Just checking to make sure we didn't have anybody else join us there. All right. Item 14 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $600,000 for eligible costs of upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at Henry D. Lloyd Elementary School, located at 2103 North Lamont Avenue in the 36th Ward. Alderwoman King makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Item 15 is a recommendation for a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $405,000 for eligible costs of upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at George Menier Elementary School, located at 1420 North Hudson Avenue in the 27th Ward. Alderwoman Tabarro makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Item number 16 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $186,200 for eligible costs of an upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at Marine Leadership Academy at Ames, located at 1920 North Hamlin in the 26th Ward. Alderwoman Silverstein makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion carries. Item number 17 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $250,000 for eligible costs of an upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at Ronald McNair Elementary School located at 4820 West Walton Street in the 37th Ward. Alderman Napolitano makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Item number 18 is the communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $400,000 for eligible costs of an upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at James B. McPherson Elementary School located at 4728 North Walcott in the 47th Ward. Alderman Cardenas makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Item number 19 is the communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $275,000 for eligible costs of an upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at L. Rob Raby Hugh School located at 3545 West Fulton Boulevard in the 28th Ward. Alderman O'Shea makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, all those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Item number 20 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $275,000 for eligible costs of upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at Carl Schurz High School located at 3601 North Milwaukee Avenue in the 45th Ward. Alderman Sawyer makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Item number 21 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $60,830 for eligible costs of upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at Mary T. Skinner West Elementary School located at 1260 West Adams Street in the 27th Ward. Alderman Scott makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I'll help
All
Nick
those
out.
opposed?
Aye.
All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. All right. Item 22 is a communication recommending a proposed ordinance concerning the authority to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Chicago Board of Education for the provision of tax increment financing funds in the amount of $139,212 for eligible costs of an upgrade, repair, and recertification of the building automation system at Suter Montessori Magnet ES located at 2022 West Washington Boulevard in the 27th Ward. And Alderman Moore makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Again, thank you, Ivan, for your work on all these items, and make sure you continue to reach out to the aldermen as you work on projects in each one of their individual wards. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan.
All right.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, moving on to communications from the Department of Law. Item number 23, the monthly report of judgment, verdicts, and settlements from the Department of Law for the month of January will be placed on file with the clerk. Items 24 and 25 are authorizations for the payment of various small claims against the city and the denial of payment of various small claims against the city. If there is no objection, these items will be placed on the omnibus. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to now move on to the supplemental, moving on to the supplemental agenda. We have 3 items today. And let me just set up here for a second. Make sure I have our staff here ready to go. It's Mimi Ruther. Okay.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good morning, everyone. Mimi Ruther from the Law Department, Torts Division, discussing today the case of Darren Johnson. Police officer Ronald Ayala had just executed a U-turn in his unmarked CPD SUV when he struck Darren Johnson, who was a pedestrian. Darren Johnson, age 46, suffered fractures in both his knees that required surgery with hardware, and he spent time in a nursing home for rehabilitation. His medical bills are $210,000, and the Law Department recommends settlement of this matter for $400,000. Plaintiff alleges that Officer Ayala was negligent and that he failed to yield to a pedestrian, failed to keep a proper lookout, and was driving too fast. The accident happened on April 17, 2017, at approximately 11:15 p.m. at the intersection of 76th and Carpenter. Officer Ayala and his partner testified that they were westbound on 76th when they saw a dark Tahoe come out of the alley just beyond Carpenter without its headlights on, and that it slammed on the brakes and then turned left in front of them to go back eastbound. Ayala made a U-turn close to the mouth of the alley to follow the Tahoe and starts to accelerate as he nears the intersection with Carpenter. And that is where the accident. Ayala testified that he did not turn on his lights and sirens because he thought that would alert the Tahoe that they were behind them and wanting to try to stop it. Neither the Illinois Traffic Crash Report nor the report signed by Officer Ayala mentions the dark Tahoe or suspicious SUV. The unmarked police car was not equipped with in-car camera, and neither officer had body-worn camera. Now, Johnson was with his cousin walking eastbound on 76th after watching a football game with his cousin at his cousin's house. There are differences in testimony about exactly what happened and where they were in the intersection when the accident occurred. Johnson said that he had seen the police car going westbound past them and that he was halfway across the intersection going from north to south when he heard the engine revving, and he turned and saw the SUV coming at him and it struck him. His cousin testified that they'd been walking eastbound on 76 when the police SUV slowed. As it went past them, the officers looked at them, and then they were coming across the street in the crosswalk from south to north. He heard engines revving and turned to see the police car coming eastbound. He jumped out of the way and tried to grab his cousin, but Johnson got struck. Officer Ayala and his partner testified that Johnson and his cousin were running across the street diagonally from the southwest to the northeast. Ayala slammed on the brakes and tried to maneuver away, but the man stopped and he was not able to avoid him. Ayala struck him with the front bumper of the SUV. Johnson's chest went over the hood and he rolled off the SUV and onto the street. As I mentioned, Darren Johnson suffered fractures in both his legs. He was taken to St. Bernard Hospital, where external fixators were placed on his legs until the swelling could go down so that he could have surgery. He was then transferred to Stroger, where he had plates and multiple screws put in both legs. He stayed at Stroger for 20 days with physical therapy, and then he was discharged to a skilled nursing facility for further rehabilitation. He used a wheelchair for several weeks after surgery, eventually transitioning to a walker and then leg braces. While he had a good recovery, he is at risk for arthritis with potential for future medical care, including possible knee replacements. Given that Officer Ayala had just turned around and was approaching a crosswalk, plaintiff will argue that Officer Ayala either failed to keep a proper lookout or was going too fast, or both. And plaintiff will rely on the fact that neither the crash report nor the other report mentioned the SUV or suspicious Tahoe as affecting the officer's credibility. While a jury could find that Mr. Johnson was partially at fault, and this would reduce an award by some percentage of that fault, the jury is likely to compensate Mr. Johnson for his medical bills, pain and suffering, and disability with an award in excess of the recommended amount. And I'd be happy to take any questions that you have.
Are there any questions for Attorney Ruther? All right, seeing as there are no questions, Alderman Villegas makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it and the motion passes. Thank you, Mimi, very much. Next up, we have Victoria Benson on the second item, 1B. This is Isel Morales versus City of Chicago.
Good morning, everyone. Victoria Benson, Deputy Corporation Counsel with the Federal Civil Rights Litigation Division. I am here to speak about the Isel Morales matter. This is a federal lawsuit arising out of a non-fatal shooting by an off-duty Chicago police officer. Plaintiff Isel Morales and off-duty former Chicago police officer Joseph Cabrera were involved in an altercation that resulted in Cabrera firing a gun at plaintiff. In the aftermath, the plaintiff was detained by responding officers and brought into custody on suspicion of committing a battery against Cabrera. Plaintiff was later released without charges. Cabrera, on the other hand, was charged months later with attempted first-degree murder, aggravated discharge of a firearm, false reporting, and obstruction as a result of this incident. Cabrera was stripped of his police powers when he was arrested in January 2021, and he resigned from the Chicago Police Department on May 6, 2021. The plaintiff alleges excessive force against Cabrera, unreasonable search and seizure against Cabrera, 2 off-duty Chicago police officers who were nearby neighbors, 5 responding Chicago police officers, and 5 investigating Chicago police detectives. Plaintiff also alleges conspiracy against all the individuals involved and state law claims of false imprisonment against all individuals. Plaintiff also alleges assault and battery against Cabrera in the city of Chicago, as well as a Monell claim against the city of Chicago. There is no body-worn camera of the altercation or the shooting as it occurred while Cabrera was off duty. However, there is body-worn camera of the events that took place once officers arrived. On October 13th, 2020, plaintiff and his girlfriend were sitting in a parked vehicle on the city's southwest side at a location that was not far from where his plaintiff's girlfriend lived, and also not far from where Cabrera and other Chicago police officers lived. At approximately 9:45 p.m., Cabrera, who was off duty, approached the plaintiff and his girlfriend, asked them if they needed assistance, and then told them to leave the area. In response, the plaintiff drove around the block and again parked his vehicle, this time not far from where he had previously parked. Cabrera, in his personal vehicle, followed the plaintiff, and when plaintiff parked again, Cabrera exited his personal vehicle and approached the plaintiff and told them to leave the area. This time, the plaintiff exited his vehicle, and according to the plaintiff, Cabrera put him into a chokehold, causing the plaintiff to push Cabrera away. Cabrera then took out a gun, pointed it at plaintiff, and fired. The shot missed the plaintiff, who then ran with his girlfriend into her house, which was just down the block. Cabrera then called 911 and reported that he was an off-duty Chicago police officer who discharged his service weapon. This resulted in a 10-1 call of an officer in distress to go off over the radio. Residents in the area also called the police to report hearing gunshots, including off-duty Chicago police officers. 2 of those off-duty Chicago police officers left their homes to see what happened and found Cabrera and spoke to him before on-duty Chicago police officers arrived on scene. When on-duty officers arrived, the plaintiff left his girlfriend's house and told officers that he was scared and that Cabrera shot at him. Plaintiff did not know that Cabrera was a police officer, and Cabrera did not announce that he was a Chicago police officer. Almost immediately after plaintiff voluntarily began speaking with the officers, he was placed in handcuffs. Simultaneously, other officers were speaking to Cabrera and told that the plaintiff attacked Cabrera, thereby causing Cabrera to shoot at plaintiff in self-defense. Plaintiff was then taken to a Chicago police station for further investigation. At approximately 5:17 a.m. on October 14, 2020, nearly 7.5 hours after the incident, the plaintiff was released without charges. In January 2021, nearly 3 months after the incident, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office filed multiple criminal charges against Cabrera, which remain pending. The risks and costs of litigation waived in favor of settlement. Although Cabrera was off duty at the time, the plaintiff alleges that he was acting within the scope of his employment and that the city is therefore liable. The remainder of the plaintiff's claims focus on the disparity between how the plaintiff was treated versus how Cabrera was treated. Plaintiff will argue that any difference in treatment is evidence supporting his claims because it goes to whether or not the officers blindly accepted Cabrera's version of events. Given the risks associated with proceeding to trial in this matter, including the risk of attorney's fees should the plaintiff be successful, we recommend settling this matter for $200,000. I apologize.
Thank you, Counselor. Are there any questions? Counselor Benson? This is on item number 2, Morales versus City of Chicago, in the amount of $200,000. Okay, well, thank you very much. And Alderman Riley makes a motion to approve this item by the affirmative vote of all members present for the roll call used to establish quorum. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Aye. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Victoria, if you could stay on the line there for a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to item 1C on the supplemental agenda. We're going to do a roll call on this one. This item on the agenda serves to correct the settlement amount that was presented to the City Council meeting at the City Council meeting on March 23rd, 2022, in the above referenced matter. That's Mia Wright versus City of Chicago, cited as 2020 CV 07688. At the meeting, it was represented that the settlement amount was $1.675 million in error. The total settlement amount was in fact $1.625. The record should reflect this correction to settle the case of Mia Wright et al. Versus City of Chicago et al. In case number 2020 CV 07688 for the total settlement amount of $1.625 million. Alderman Sposato.
So it's less than what we thought it was. So that's a good thing then, right?
Yes.
Yes, it's less.
Yes.
Even though I opposed it, I could support it being less than. You just want to go on record as saying I do support it now because it's less than what we thought it was. So, but thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, and it doesn't.
Thank you,
it doesn't. Yeah, it won't change your vote from last time. This is simply to correct that Scrivener's error. That
right. I don't want people to think that I supported it. I support them getting less than as opposed to more.
Yes.
Just going on record on that one. That's all.
Yes.
I'm not trying to trick anybody. So.
No, and I think that's the case here for everyone. So I'm going to do a roll call just to make sure we have it on the record there. Any other questions for the attorney while she's here? Okay. Thank you, Victoria. Just stay there just in case. 1 second, please. Alderman Moore.
Can you hear me?
I thought I had you as a panelist. I'm sorry. Maybe you hopped off there.
Yeah, I need to be here.
1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm bumping you over to panelist.
He's in, sir.
Okay. Alderman Moore.
Thank you, Chairman. I apologize. I'm in 2 meetings. And so Chairman, can you hear me?
Start over again, please.
Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, but start over for your comment.
Yeah, no. Oh, I raised my hand because I thought you were taking roll call vote on this item.
I am. I had not started the roll call yet.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, so I will go to roll call. And we're going to start out with Alderman Hopkins. Alderman Hopkins, are you ready? Okay. I can come back to anybody that has to hop out. Start out. Alderman Hopkins. Alderwoman Dowell. Alderwoman King.
Aye, Chairman.
That was Alderwoman King.
Yes.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Vice Chair Hairston.
Aye.
Alderman Sawyer.
Aye.
Alderman Mitchell.
Aye. Aye.
Alderwoman Harris. Alderwoman Harris.
I vote aye.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Alderman Beal. Alderman Beal.
Yep.
Alderwoman Sudleski Gar's not here. Alderwoman Lee.
Yeah, I did.
Alderwoman Lee. Alderman Cardenas. Alderman Quinn.
Aye.
Alderman Burke. Actually, I don't think he was in there. Alderman Raymond Lopez. Alderman Moore.
Alderman Moore is an aye.
Okay. Alderman Curtis.
Aye.
Alderman O'Shea. Alderman Brookins. Out. Alderwoman Tabaris.
Aye.
Thank you. Alderman Scott.
Aye.
Alderman Burnett.
Aye.
Alderman Irvin.
Aye. Alderman Irvin votes aye.
Thank you. Alderman Taliaferro.
Aye.
Alderman Roboris.
No.
Chairman votes yes. Alderwoman Austin.
Aye.
Alderman Villegas.
Aye.
Alderwoman Mitz.
Aye.
Alderman Sposato.
Nick Sposato is a yes for less.
Thank you. Alderman Napolitano. Alderman Riley.
Aye.
Alderwoman Smith.
Aye.
Alderman Tunney.
Aye.
Alderman Osterman.
Aye.
Alderwoman Silverstein.
Aye.
Alderman Dowell votes aye. Sorry, Chairman, stepped away.
And Alderman Hopkins votes aye, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Then I have 24-1, and I added Alderman Hopkins and Alderwoman Dowell. And can I just...
Chairman, this is Alderman Harris. You did get my aye vote, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Napolitano.
Aye.
Okay. 25 and 1 no. Anyone else that I might have missed that want to jump in there? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, it passes 25-1. That is for just correcting to reduce the settlement amount. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time and patience today. That does conclude the agenda for today, and we have no further business before the committee. So Alderman Tunney makes a motion to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? I don't think anyone wants to stick around, but thank you all, and meeting is adjourned.